champion that could also be priority.
What are you more afraid of? Caps' LeBlanc, Jankos' Elise? The LeBlanc is what's banned away, but it's such a difficult draw.
What about Yasuo? Right now, that's still up and available. We are playing on patch 9.3, so the nerfs to Yasuo have not come through yet. Very strong on this patch, and last week we did say PerkZ play it down in the bot lane, and we know Caps is hungry to get his hands on it.
Yeah, and I mean, PerkZ went unkilled that game, 6-0-2, and it is available if they want to go that route. It is going to be a Zillion ban. This is targeted towards KaSing. It is something that he has played once this split already. It was 1-0-9 in that performance, and has been a champion that he's played a whole lot. So hovering through those priority picks, and a blind and insta-lock first pick Yasuo.
I like these Renekton hovers. Bit of a throwback there, and this is cool. So we do see the Yasuo locked in. You'll likely expect it to be in the hands of Special, but remember, it can go all over the shop, and don't be surprised if we actually see it in the hands of Jeskla as well this game.
Yesterday, PerkZ was actually talking with Upset backstage, and PerkZ said to Upset, I see you've been practicing it. I see your OPGG. You are playing Yasuo in solo queue. Are you going to throw down the gauntlet against me? Now, it didn't happen, but it will be very interesting if it plays out that way. Jarvan locked in, 2 wins, 0 losses for Wunder, and he's only conceded 1 death so far if he takes down the top lane, and I think it's expected at this time.
Jarvan become very powerful on the current meta, especially up in the top lane, but he can be flexed into the jungle as well. Now this Vladimir pick is really interesting because what G2 is basically saying is wherever you put that Yasuo, we're sending the Vladimir. You want to put him top? Well, that's fine. Wunder's going to play the Vlad. You want to put him mid? That's fine. Caps will play the Vladimir. You want to put him bot? Fun fact, PerkZ can play Vladimir too. So regardless of where the Yasuo goes, G2 is saying we're going to guarantee a strong matchup. Vladimir can scale very well against the Yasuo because it's difficult for him to punish him. He has good sustain, and also in the late game, he's one of the few champions that can outscale Yasuo on side. So I like the pickup from G2, and already they have strong, they have the ability to play side lanes along with a strong team fight comp.
And of course, this game, just as a reminder, G2 Esports had side selection. They elected to take red side. So they've already afforded themselves the ability to soft counter pick and, you know, get themselves a good draft going into game. The Gragas has now been locked in. This is something that Caedrel has played in the jungle in the past, can also go to support, and now Kennen secured as well. Do you expect this to be top lane Kennen into the Jarvan?
With the Urgot taken off the board, Kennen kind of rises in priority and is considered very strong. It's pretty good matchup into the Jarvan as well, because you can harass from range, and it can do pretty well into the Vladimir too. But it does also limit the options of where the Yasuo could go. We're now looking at a mid or bot Yasuo. My predictions is it is going to go in the hands of Jeskla. They're going to save the mid pick for later. What we can be for certain is that G2 right now have locked in the support Galio, which could be as an answer to support Gragas, or it could just be that they want someone that can roam and just leave PerkZ, who you expect to play the Vladimir by himself, and they're going to ban away some of the tougher matchups, things like the Tahm Kench. Braum could be another option who they look to ban away. I think Morgana is another one they could also consider taking off the board.
Especially with the Zillion, the TK being banned, as you've already mentioned. Look at Jankos' face having a little bit of a laugh on stage.
When is he not laughing?
When is he not laughing? It's a very, very good point. But it's very interesting when you see how many flex picks there are in this draft right now. And G2, you have to feel, have the better command of the scenario in terms of all the supports they could ban. They end up taking away Thresh.
That's also good because you can interrupt his dash with the E and the taunt because it slows you down. You can then use the Flay again to knock you out of range of that.
And also, isn't Thresh a higher priority champion just in isolation before you take into consideration the draft? I just wish we had that friend of yours, Flexius, here to help us break down this a little bit more.
If only he were here.
If only it were possible. I don't think he's qualified to cast the game.
Don't think so, just yet.
But the last ban's going to be Elise in, so denying that option to Jankos. I mean, Elise is still up, but there's a lot of magic damage on the table as well. So does Jankos maybe go something a bit more utility? Or, I mean, he could still make it work too.
A part of me thought he could go for the Sejuani, but against the Yasuo wind wall and against Gragas Kennen, maybe that's not the best thing. Right now, they have a little bit more of the scaling side, so it depends if they want something a little bit more early focused.
Olaf?
Where Olaf could work, but I was just about to say the Elise is another strong option. And now I just want to see them grab some more AD damage from somewhere. The fact that we have the Ezreal locked in means the Yasuo will be going in mid lane. That means Caps will grab himself the Vladimir. They will keep the Jarvan up in the top lane, and this will give PerkZ the opportunity to pick some kind of answer. He could go for the Kaisa. Lucian is taken off the board. If you wanted to be hyper-aggressive, you could go for something like the Draven if you wanted to. But I feel like Sivir or Kaisa are both very solid options here as an answer to the Ezreal.
All right, a lot of time left to decide the final pick. It's not going to be support Gragas, it will be jungle. And therefore, Special and Expect will just swap once the final pick is locked in. It ends up being a fairly traditional looking team composition
very
here.
quickly. Okay, no, that guy's so this is what we expected, but I just wanted to very quickly get in and say maybe he goes for the Zed and plays a skill matchup in mid lane if they wanted more AD damage, but he's not going to do it. He's just going to take the very standard Vlad into the Yasuo. Good matchup for Caps. Top side is very favored towards XL. Kennen gets a strong early advantage, but we can talk a little bit more about the nuances of the matchup in-game, but I'm sure Wunder's very happy with how the things will play out. You're not going to see much focus up there. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, I'm curious as to how much roaming Mickey is going to look to do, because when I saw him playing his Galio in his solo queue games, he actually just played for lane. He would look for all-ins, he would try and burst his opponent down, and the moment he hit level 3, he was constantly looking for kills, and then when he hit level 6, that's when he would start just looking for those roams towards other parts of the map. So Mickey is the player I kind of want to keep my eyes on from the side of G2, whereas Caedrel, I want to see where he invests his time. Will he try and help Special through what could be a rough laning phase? Will he try and snowball Expect, who's been one of the stronger members of XL? So we'll see where he invests his time in the early game.
And you have to feel, in my mind, with that matchup in the top lane, it might make more sense to go top. Get that Kennen ahead, get him in a position where he can apply pressure during the opening stages of the game. That's the man on your screen. Expect playing for Excel Esports. Just to set the stakes, of course, XL are at 2 wins and 9 losses. It is a very, very difficult situation to be in if you want to make playoffs. It is not impossible, but it is highly improbable, and it would be phenomenal if they can take down G2 Esports today, especially after yesterday's game. There's a little bit to be desired. Jankos and Wunder right now definitely do not want that to happen. The last time these teams played, it was 45 minutes slugfest. XL looked pretty good. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we load up onto the riff for week 6, day 2. As XL Esports want to once again reclaim some of that challenger status that they had from some of the stronger games earlier in the split. Bounce back from their loss yesterday to Rogue, in which was a pretty exciting game, Vedius.
Oh yeah, it was a game of League of Legends. We all enjoyed it together, QuickShot. But now we're watching G2, and yesterday when we saw them play, they fell behind a little bit in the early game. Jankos couldn't quite pull off the early ganks that he wanted to. He tried a lot, but Mento tracked him very well. He countered a lot of the ganks that Jankos tried, and Schalke actually got ahead in the early game, but a single mistake, and G2 very quickly snowball. And that's the problem with G2. They're just so quick to punish. But look at what Caedrel's doing right now. He's coming from behind Mickey. He's getting collapsed on.
All right, not too bad. Mickey's going to be able to dash away the Justice Punch. Not the most optimal level 1, but it's not terrible at the end of the day. Small advantage. And interesting to see Caedrel in the decision-making he's going for. You know, yesterday, that jungle Urgot, it has been talked about a lot, but it was just one of the elements that struggled, as well as Jeskla's Draven. And I want to talk about just, you know, how XL struggled to make that draft work. And Expect is on the Yorick top. Right now we're going to see a bit of trading here as Wunder and Expect trade back and forth. But just to look at some of those stats on that Urgot and the Draven, 253 on Caedrel's Urgot. Jeskla's Draven, he didn't get support, he didn't get played around. And I don't think I want to see it happen today with this Ezreal Braum.
No, it's one of those situations where when you're playing Draven, it's a lane that you typically need to invest resources into, because it's not that he is a snowbally character because of his adoration stacks, and the moment that he gets all that extra gold funneled into him, funnily enough, he becomes very, very powerful. But what we saw was that Caedrel actually invested his time and resources up towards the top side to try and get Expect ahead, and that meant that Jeskla on the Draven fell very far behind because of all the jungle attention that Kickers was throwing his way.
Take a look at the minimap. Jeskla, oh, so much damage into KaSing! He almost gets taken out. Summon a flash, forced to be used, but Jeskla with the Kleptos already got himself a couple bags of gold, as well as the Potion of Might there. So that's a decent enough RNG to help him out during this laning phase. But boy, oh boy, was there a lot of damage there onto Jeskla and KaSing. Summoner spell traded. PerkZ for KaSing.
So I'm just having a look back at exactly what happened there, because in the Ezreal Braum matchup, this is not what you want to be happening at all. So Mykix actually landed a really good knockup, and then PerkZ flashed in, hoping that he could proc all of his passive stacks to get that kill. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. But now Jankos making his way towards the bot side.
Oh, look at that. There's the flash taunt. Jeskla's able to escape with the flash and the arcane shift. Mykix's going to go down. First blood secured by Caedrel. Repel up, drop down. Jankos manages to escape the Mystic shot. Flashes away from any follow-up CC. And that tower dive is thwarted by XL.
You know, it's funny because the last time G2 played XL got a huge early game lead because they tried to set up a tower dive that went horribly wrong. And already in this early game, G2 tried to play extremely aggressively, and they end up getting punished as a result. And the problem there for Mykix was he took the initial aggro, but then he went back into range of tower before it could go onto someone else. So he ended up taking many tower shots, and with Caedrel there, he ended up losing his life.
All right, if you look at the minimap, Mykix's already roaming. That answers a question you posed in the draft with the help of Jankos as well. Flash is available for special, already used. Windwall comes up to block the cocoon. That was beautifully done by special, utilizing the full kit, but also remember, summoner flash blown. So gonna need to be cautious when pushing past those lanes. We talked about lane priority and pushing yesterday, Vedius, and that's something that special needs to keep in mind as the game plays out. Very active early game from Jankos.
Yeah, and this is one of the problems with G2 is you kind of want to set expectations for a game and you kind of want to talk about some of the matchups, but you never really get an opportunity to because of how aggro G2 always are in the early levels. And the thing I really wanted to highlight once again for G2 is that when you're playing an Elise, it's really important that you find early kills. She as a champion really struggles to have an impact later on into the game because all of her damage is single target. She offers very limited in terms of utility, and so she needs to find these early ganks. So setting up this dive, they think this is a 1 versus 3. But Caedrel is positioned in a way where he can assist, but that flash from Jeskla means that not only did Mykix draw initial tower aggro, he then puts himself back under the tower to take another tower shot, meaning that he ends up losing his life. And the reality here is that G2 didn't consider all of the risks, and they end up getting punished for it.
So very well played. XL in the right place to respond. And as you mentioned, a little bit eager, a little bit aggro. Also what you expect from G2.
And so what I really wanted to talk about was this Kennen versus Jarvan matchup, just because it's not something that we often see, but I had the opportunity to talk to Wunder about it, and what he told me was that in a lot of ranged matchups, what you do on the Jarvan is you run airy and you harass with the E. It's really important that you just throw it out whenever it's available, and he actually chooses to max it as well for maximum poke and harassment, which means that he just sits behind the minions, he doesn't take minion aggro, but he actually slowly chips away at the HP bar of the Kennen. You can actually see that in terms of the trades, Wunder comes out ahead, and it barely burns through any of his mana. So this is why Jarvan is considered actually a very safe blind pick in the current meta.
We actually saw that as well. Every time we have looked at the top lane, Expect is pretty low on HP. He's farming it pretty well. And I think it's important to note that XL has been the, Expect rather has been the rock for XL Esports. You know, he's pretty good KDA, his kill participation for the team, pretty high, you can see 64%. Fairly healthy damage percentage for the squad in a favorable matchup.
I mean, I don't think you have to use generous words. He is on a 2-9 team.
He is.
And for stats like that, to still sit in the top 6, I still think is very solid for Expect, right? And it's one of those things where it's always difficult when a team is losing so often to kind of highlight a star player, but I do think that Expect is one of those players that has been very solid and has been a reliable side lane threat. Unfortunately, he's struggled to play as a split pusher because the rest of his team often falls behind. So we'll see if things are different today as Jankos looks for another gank in the bot lane.
Well, hugely different because it's Jeskla with this Klepto that's doing pretty well. He's already up about 500 CS. 500 gold, rather, because of the Klepto. Here comes Jankos and Mykix. No flashes available. Arcane Shift already used. Cocoon finds its target, and that looked all too easy. You remember all of that action earlier.
It's KaSing's job to body block for you, not the other way around. But it felt like Jeskla was like, KaSing, I can't let you lose your life today. I will sacrifice myself. And he paths back into the cocoon, and KaSing walks away with his life. So that goal difference you were just talking about, QuickShot, that's now going to fall behind as G2 find themselves another kill.
Yeah, you can see those bags of gold on the Klepto Ezreal, still giving him a 300 CS, 300 gold advantage. Stop saying CS, Trevor. 300 gold advantage over PerkZ. But look at these tower plates going down. This is going to help out a lot. G2 have already closed that gold lead. That's 2 plates just about to drop. And you know, Jankos and Mykix, they're not done yet. Jeskla's flash is a few seconds away, and they might fancy themselves another shot. Not this time round. Going to back away.
Meanwhile, Caedrel on the top side of the map recognizes where the jungler is. And is actually stealing away some of these jungle camps. So like the map has been split right now, given that G2 have priority in bot, and a lot of deep vision has been set up around the red buff of XL. Caedrel has very smartly used that time to actually position up towards the top side and steal away some of the buff. So good awareness there from Caedrel, and now Wunder has to be careful because he doesn't have any control over the top side of the map.
No, he doesn't. Wunder's got a 13 CS advantage for now, pushed very heavily into Expect, but he's overextended and he's got a control ward that Caedrel will walk over. Double Dark Seals on Jarvan, which I want to talk about after this potential gank. Vision has been revealed, but with Flash, Flag, and Drag, it is actually very easy for Jarvan to escape. But what do you make of this double Dark Seal? You've already touched on the area and some of that poke and harass. I mean, it seems to be benefiting Wunder for the time being.
Well, it's something that you often build when you want more sustain, because it's not a unique passive. It is something that you can stack. Oh, we don't have time. We've got another fight.
No, you mentioned this already, Vedius. We never get a chance with G2 Esports as KaSing is forced to dash away. He escapes with his life at the cost of True Shot. Back to Jarvan.
So, the thing about Dark Seal is it gives more healing from potions, 25% to be exact, and it stacks as well. So when you start with the Corrupting Potion and you get 2 of them, you just get more healing. So against range matchups, it's just more sustain, but also more mana, which means that you have more more in your pool to play with, and it means that he can keep harassing and he can stay relatively healthy as well. So it's really obnoxious for ranged champions that typically want to get ahead early on, but I don't think that the Jarvan's ever really going to have kill pressure on the Kennen, but the fact that he's still coming out of this lane even ahead is definitely advantageous for the top laner of G2.
I mean, this was a matchup in draft we said is sort of Kennen favored to a degree, or
well, normally
the top
in terms of priority is what we talk about, right? Because the Kennen will often have push because he can just run through the wave with his E, and if Jarvan is overextended, it's really easy to set up for a play. Speaking of setting up plays.
All right, Caedrel's going to go in. That's a great barrel. That's going to set up the damage on the PerkZ. PerkZ dashes over the wall, flashes back. The Wind Wall buys some time. His special's trying to find one more hit. The Tornado picks up a kill onto PerkZ. Now Excel Esports are going to 4-man stack inside G2's jungle. They decide to back away because Caps is coming in. Hemoplague's available to him, but Excel find themselves a kill and retake the gold lead.
Really love the decision making there from Special, because I thought they were going to just try and kill Mickey, but their eyes were set onto PerkZ, and while he played that as well as he could, utilizing his ultimate to get over the wall and then flashing afterwards, he couldn't actually generate a big enough of a gap between him and Special, which meant the Special could continue to chase even through 2 different walls. So it ends up being a single kill over in XL's favor, and they now lead in gold against G2. They lead in kills, and things are looking pretty good for XL in this early game.
And welcome back to the XL that was making us very optimistic in the beginning weeks of the split. Caedrel is making some very good decision making. Remember, he very early on got in behind Mickey in the jungle, has set up a couple of counter ganks, and has been very involved in XL maintaining small gold lead over G2. But Jankos knows that flash was used by Special, so he's going to try set this one up. The Tornado comes out, and Jankos sinks the fangs in with the Venomous Bite. Just another flawless tower down.
I just love the fact that G2 went to punish the flashless mid laner. Jankos did have to use his flash to secure that kill. Honestly, I don't think he needed it, but right now PerkZ is the one in a bit of danger. As, Mickey actually going for the engage.
Well, who is in danger after all once Mickey decides to come back? He's obviously got that ultimate available to him as well. If he needs to jump on top of PerkZ, wasn't necessary that time around. Jeskla and KaSing backed away. And now with, look, pushing mid in favor of G2, pushing bottom, it's going to allow Jankos the ability to start off this Mountain Drake uncontested, and his laners have already roamed to help him.
Excellent awareness, Trevor. Clearly my teaching has paid off.
Why, thank you. It has done a little bit, but take a look at this. That's a steal! After we're gloating about the priority, now the ultimate is going to get Mickey out to safety. Glacial Prison. Fissure comes down. XL are taking the lead. They've got the Mountain. They get themselves another kill. And Caedrel is on fire in this early game.
And the important thing to note is, Trevor, you were talking about who had priority. The problem is that XL had just been able to push bot back out, and they were able to get a couple of control wards in the bottom half of the river, meaning they could see Jankos doing it. He was too low to fight, meaning that the moment XL went for this fight, they're in a much healthier spot. So again, I draw your attention towards the bottom lane. You can see that Kaisa and Mickey have actually moved over towards the Drake. They have 3 people on it. Jankos is too low. Caedrel comes in over the wall, and he gets a good chunk of damage onto Jankos, but still secures the smite. And unfortunately for G2, they're just not in a position right now to be able to fight back because they don't have the HP, and XL were not in a situation where they would lose any farm because they had time to push out bot and then rejoin the rest of rejoin Caedrel rather at the Drake.
So this gives XL Esports an 800 gold lead. They've got that Mountain Drake we talked about a little bit, and now Caps gets jumped on by Special. There's support coming in from KaSing, but Jankos was waiting in the wings if anything further played out, and Jankos doesn't care. He's down a small amount of CS, or farm rather, but if I look at actual gold secured, down 500 gold. Thank you for the toggle, observers. Even in the top lane, and Jeskla currently, thanks to the help of that Klepto, outdoing PerkZ in the bottom lane. The one thing you do have to give some insight into, a number of plates have been killed this game.
Oh, they certainly have, and that's why G2 is maintaining the goal. Caps on a 1v3.
All right, it's going to need to use that W to buy some time. Flash is available to him. There's the dash from the Proto Belt. The barrel comes out, and the Hemoplague heal manages to get a couple of ooze from Berlin. Wunder and Jankos, if a Cocoon and a Cataclysm connects, there's the possibility for damage. Wunder, I didn't see what interrupted him there. May have been a Gragas barrel, I didn't quite see. He sort of like bopped in the air.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Wasn't able to find the Cataclysm to maybe put some of the damage down. But again, XL currently trading blow for blow. And you know what this reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
This reminds me of the Schalke game yesterday, where it felt so even and so close. But one mistake from Schalke then allowed G2 to quite literally steamroll the game from an even state to winning 8 minutes later.
Oh, so it was actually the Yasuo Q that interrupted him. Just the last edge, as he was jumping over the wall, the Yasuo Q interrupted. So that's what it was. To answer your question, QuickShot. Now, the thing is about G2's comp. Kaisa, she scales pretty well.
Yep.
She's going to go for the Infinity Edge first, pick up the Runans normally. Some go for Rage Blade. Others even go for Rapid Fire Cannon. I personally think Rage Blade is the best third item. But then same for the Vladimir, you have Proto Belt, he'll go into Spellbinder, and then he can go into kind of whatever he wants. He can go Oblivion Orb, he can go Death Cap if he's doing really well, he can get Zhonya's as well. A lot of flexibility, but both Vladimir and Kaisa, a lot of scaling value in the later game. And Jarvan, he's only going to get tanky, he's only going to get stronger as the game goes on. But the same can be said for XL. Ezreal, really strong at 3 items, especially once he's completed both of his mana items. The Yasuo, once he gets his Infinity Edge plus the Zeal item, he's looking good. And so ultimately, both teams actually have pretty good scaling, so it's about who makes fewer mistakes.
Well, right now, Caedrel made a small mistake. Had no ultimate available, did not interrupt the Rift Herald. So that means G2 get a reply tower in the mid lane, because Jeskla and KaSing were able to take a tower, the first of the game, in the bottom lane. PerkZ fancies himself a miner because he's picked up 2 pickaxes. He's going farming, another tower falls. So G2 Esports are in control of the situation. Expecting Wunder trading. I was waiting to see if ultimates got thrown down. But with G2 peeling from mid towards top, I like the fact that Expect recognizes the potential threat and he starts to back away to play it safely. It's an even gold game at 26 minutes, but you already start to feel the wheels of G2 turning. They lose 1 tower, but they get 2 and a kill in reply.
26 minutes, Trevor.
16
minutes. It's all right. It's all right. We've still got a lot more of the game left to go.
Yes.
But yeah, the gold being dead even right now, definitely a great position for XL to be in. I much prefer their draft compared to yesterday. I feel like Caedrel's having a much better performance as well, outside of that small misplay he just had in the mid lane. And I do want to compare vision right now. As the Infernal Drake is spawning, you can see that even though G2 have good setup on the top side of the river, primarily it is XL with control over the bot side of the river. That's because they set up a push in the bottom side of the map. They also will have priority on the mid lane as well. The thing they have to be careful of is the 2 control wards that sit behind them, primed and ready for Wunder to set up a TP flank, come in from behind and look to contest for this Infernal Drake.
Cataclysm is 5 seconds away from being available. Once the teleport completes, it will be available for cast, but G2 Esports do not fancy a shot at this one. They will concede the second dragon of the game in favor of vision control in the northern quadrant as well as a tower. So, you know, I think G2 will still be pretty content for the trade, but you can't deny the fact that a Mountain and an Infernal going over to Kennen, Yasuo, Ezreal is a good sign for XL Esports, but they've got to be very, very careful with how they utilize their team composition, their vision, and their pressure on the map.
Now, we're getting to a point where side lanes and wave assignments become really important. And basically what I mean when I talk about lane assignments is who do you send to what lane, when, where, and why, right? And the thing about Yasuo is you want to get him off on a side lane once he's completed his first major item. So the fact that Static Shiv is completed, he now has a little bit more wave clear, his dueling is a little bit stronger. More importantly, you just want him to get solo experience, and you want him to get as much solo gold as possible. And the same can be said for the Vladimir. So what you're likely going to see is both the Vladimir and Yasuo move off onto a side lane together, and they're both going to continue to scale up as the game progresses. But G2, they don't like to play conventional, and when they see someone off on a side lane, they look for a pick.
Well, they do indeed. Killer Instinct's available for PerkZ. If Special rather, get into trouble. Caedrel's coming in from behind as here comes a hero's entrance. Chemoplague is thrown down, and now we're going to battle on multiple fronts. Mykix jumping into KaSing in the backside as Special is already blown up. Didn't get a chance to channel his ultimate. Expect with the slicing maelstrom is inside, looking for PerkZ with the help of Caedrel. That's a 1-for-1. Now they turn their attention to KaSing. Jeskla gets caught by the cocoon. Jankos manages to save Wunder's life. Jeskla gets taken up by a venomous bite, and KaSing will get sent packing by Wunder's Jarvan. G2 Esports trade 1-for-4.
And what should have initially just been a pick for G2 ends up turning into a slew of kills, vision control, objectives across the board, and G2 do it once again. A small misplay from the enemy team is snowballed on. And here we can see Special, he needs to appreciate where he doesn't have vision. He doesn't have proper control over the river. It's too late before he notices that Caps is looking for the collapse. And while that's a good interrupt from KaSing, the reality is that Caps is more than happy to just go for this 1v2, and with a small assistance from PerkZ, finds that kill. Now expect TP's in on the flank, and unfortunately for PerkZ, he's in this awkward situation where he wants to ulti out, but the Kennen ultimate range is so big, and Caedrel is right in front of him, he just kind of has to do what he can and get behind his Jarvan. Unfortunately, it's not enough, so he ends up dropping, but the rest of G2 is still alive to clean up the scattered XL that aren't together, and it just becomes easy pickings for G2.
For anybody that's watched this game for a long time knows how much I love the cocoon spell from Elise and Jankos and finding it perfect. It is Jankos' most played champion, 62 professional games on this stage with 36 wins, 26 losses. You can see the man on your screen right now hunting for a little electric hamster with the help of Wunder and Cataclysm. This time around, the cocoon goes wide. Won't find the target, but yesterday, I mean, Jankos and Elise, he went 2-2-8. He had 45% jungle proximity, and he had a KDA of 3 in the game. It was just absolutely fantastic, and he was one of the crucial members that established all of the picks in the mid game that just accelerated the win for G2 Esports, and you can see him executing flawlessly in that skirmish in the top half of the map.
Yeah, I like the way he's been playing so far. I've been generally impressed with Jankos. Now that is no E available on Jeskla.
No, not yet. PerkZ. Press R, press R, press R, presses R! Jumps onto Jeskla. There's a reply from KaSing. Knows the Fisher comes out. Stopwatch buys some time. Caedrel goes golden as well, and I think this is problematic for XL's jungler. Jankos once again picks up the kill. The True Shot Barrage does a tiny bit of extra damage, but just another great pick that started and ended with Jankos.
And this is why I wanted to talk about lane assignments and wave management, because one of XL's biggest issues is that they don't know when to be, where to be, and how to execute upon it. And Kennen was in the bot lane, no teleport. G2 forced to play with the superior numbers. They found a pick, jungler's dead, and now they're going to secure a Baron.
No smite available. Special needs to do something extremely special. Not going to be able to either. Very good zoning from Mickey and from Caps. Void missiles go out. Caps is chasing. Chemoplague will pop in a second. That's a killing spree. Here comes the flag drag dunk onto KaSing. Winds of War will deal a little bit of damage as Jankos' cocoon will not find a target this time round. Wunder picks up his first kill of the game, 1-0-4. And G2 Esports will use those empowered recalls to start to back, get away with Baron, secured 5,000 gold lead, and they've initiated the Baron power play. And this is just, again, a G2 style of game where they look so even, and then G2 just find this gear that you cannot match.
And so, again, keep an eye on the minimap. Wunder generates a window where he can join the rest of his team. So even though this looks bad initially for XL, Caedrel shouldn't have gone onto the Elise in this situation, but he sees a low health target and he thinks he can find a pick. But it's the fact that Wunder can join and Expect can't. And this is what XL end up getting punished on. The fact that they don't have the rest of their team to force a substantial fight means they end up getting caught off and they end up losing the Baron. And it's just the difference in experience, understanding, and that's why G2 is able to find a big objective there.
Now, of course, G2, very heavy favorites in this game. Volatile Spiderling goes out. Jankos gets the cocoon as well, sinks in the fangs. Venomous Bite chasing down. Solo kill to Jankos! Easily picked up. But take a look at that. Runic Echoes, Oblivion Orb, as well as the Hourglass. That is a lot of AP damage. And Special just gets eaten alive.
Yep, Jankos is very strong at this point in the game. We talked about how the Elise needs to get ahead in the early game, and so far Jankos has done a great job at level 13, right now 2 levels above Caedrel, finding a solo kill onto Special. It's very unfortunate. Oh, we even have the pip of it as well. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing. When Elise gets ahead, she's really, really strong. It's also really unfortunate that Special actually went for a Sterak's gauge rather than Infinity Edge second. It means that you delay when Yasuo is at his strongest very much. Meanwhile, Caps has now picked himself up the Death Cap and the Oblivion Orb, so he's going full damage, while Special is just trying to survive what is a very big Bloodlord.
Now, for every fan of the playoff race, which we'll get to in a second, Wunder gets knocked up, stunned up, True Shot Barrage flies, manages to survive a lot longer than anticipated, but he does get taken down, which means the pressure is thwarted. Wunder could have flashed away from that. Jankos will repel up, drop down. Here comes the hero's entrance. Windwall will block the cocoon, and somehow, while that was going on, Caps, with the help, Wunder, there's an assist in there, somehow manages to pick up another kill into Special.
Poor observers, too many people are dying and they can't keep up with it. So yeah, what we saw was Caps found a solo kill up in the top lane, but I think it was even in a 1 versus 3 as well. Wunder also died in mid because he overextended just a little bit. And now Caps getting collapsed upon.
So Wunder die a second time? No, he got an assist there. Nevertheless, this is another little replay.
Pressure.
There we go. Caps gets taken down in the top lane while Jankos and PerkZ take the inhibitor. It doesn't even matter that it is chaotic because G2 are still pressing their lead. They're getting the objectives they need, and they're pushing further ahead.
Yep. Very, I mean, it's a scrappy game, I think, from G2. It's a little
scrappy
over the
ending,
shop.
yeah.
Yep, but they are still finding the kills, and they're still bringing into the base. So first we're going to see how Caps gets his kill. So he does have the empowered Q. Oh, so he...
My word.
That is what we call a one-shot. Even though he used 3 abilities, it was very little effort on his part. Then Mickey flash taunts, ignite, plus Perk. I don't even know if Perks was needed there. But Mickey will find another kill in towards the bot side of the map. So G2, 2 quick picks, enables them to secure the bot inhibitor, and now they don't really need the Baron because they can just start pushing in both mid and top.
And what I was trying to say before Wunder and Caps decided to start the shenanigans is that for all the other teams in the playoff race, this is actually hugely pivotal. Because the further and further XL and Rogue are away from competing with the top 8 or competing with the 6th place standings, the higher the odds of teams in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th in making it to playoffs. So that is something that you have to keep your eyes on. A little later today, Rogue will be playing as well. And, you know, if Rogue or XL start picking up surprise wins, it is a gigantic, gigantic dent in the teams lower down the standings trying to make it into playoffs. G2's not one of those teams because they've got a healthy lead up at the top of the table and looking pretty safe right now for one of those top 2 spots and that seat to Rotterdam.
Yeah, I'm just kind of doing some off the top of my head maths, and I think G2 is very close to just locking a playoff spot because of the number of wins that everyone else has below them. But I'll get stats to confirm that. We can check after the game. But the reality is, XL have their backs against the wall. There is very little that they can do. Unless they find some kind of miracle wombo combo, they're not going to turn this around.
Well, there's a wombo. It's not much of a combo, though, as everybody on XL is split up and interrupted. The Hourglass, as well as a stopwatch bought sometime. Wunder manages to get a dunk down and a drag out. Knocked up into the air. PerkZ is being dove on by Special. No Infinity Edge means not enough damage. Means Special does not have what is necessary to take down PerkZ. Wunder will run him down sooner or later with the help of Mickey stepping in as well. It ends up being 2 quick kills for G2 Esports. They did not need the Baron to push in, as you rightly called, Vedius. Jankos, Caps, and PerkZ will continue to put pressure on the inhibitor turret. Mid is exposed, and they're going to set their sights on Nexus soon.
Yes, they certainly are. 2 members are dead on the side of XL. They're also pretty long death timers. G2 are so far ahead that it's going to walk their way towards the base.
Well, that's it. Nexus turret number 1 will fall shortly. Caps is stepping forward with that sanguine pull to buy some time. The tower does fall. The minions have been cleared out, and G2 are a little bit low. They've got to be cautious, turn their attention to this mid lane instead. There's not a lot of ultimates available. PerkZ takes a lot of damage from that Essence Flux and the Mystic Shock. PerkZ runs for his life, but he's run down by Expect. The turn and burn from G2 back into the mid lane. Caps escapes with 1 tower hit, almost taking him down. The barrel falls ever so short, and XL Esports pick up a few exit frags, but it is simply not enough to thwart what feels inevitable at this stage.
So G2, they get a little greedy, they overstay when they shouldn't have, and XL find the opportunity to pick up some return kills. But as you rightly said, the base has pretty much been dismantled now from the side of G2. They sit on an 8,000 gold lead. 2 inhibitors have been taken down. There's 1 inhibitor that has been exposed. And Nexus Tower is all that stands in their way as well. But let's have a look back at how this fight starts. XL tried to go for a plank play, but Mickey already had the ward set up to read it. He now just interrupts. Oh, he actually gets a beautiful E onto Expect to prevent him from flashing onto PerkZ. And the fact that he couldn't dive onto the backline means that he ends up dropping immediately. Jeskla is trying to deal with Caps, who's just 1v3ing at this point. And he says, you know what, you guys, you can just stay over here while my team deals with Special on the backline. So Wunder ends up securing that kill. And then G2 continue to just break into the base.
It is still extremely impressive how well G2 can play these fights, even when it's messy, even when it's a little chaotic. It is still beautiful to watch. Expect throws down the hourglass, and Caps is able to pick up the solo kill. And G2 are stepping all the way forward into the base. Now, 1 inhibitor remains. You can see the timers on the left. Bottom inhib will be spawning in about 30 seconds time. And PerkZ takes a big chunk of damage on the Mystic Shot, but it's simply too big of a disparity. 9,000 gold deficit, 3 lanes of supers for a little while, and now G2 pushing on to the Nexus.
Yeah, they have their eyes set on securing another win. And here we are. Here comes the fight.
All right, Caps gets knocked back by the explosive cast. Special is drawing some pressure onto Jankos. Hourglass used. KaSing is already down, and there's a Protobell dash forward by Caps. PerkZ is cleaning up on the backside, and yes, there's 1 supplementary kill for XL, but it doesn't matter. G2 Esports take down XL and confirm themselves a playoff spot.
Jankos was very upset when he died at the end there. There was smashing on the table, there was hands in face. I think he wasn't happy about his 5-1-3 scoreline being ruined. But at the end of the day, G2 walk away with a convincing victory. They do lock in a playoff spot, our first team in the LEC. And already in week 6, they've had a dominant split.
Absolutely have. 11 wins, 1 loss. Only Origin able to besmirch their perfect record. I want to give some credit to XL bouncing back from yesterday. It was a difficult game, and today they looked a lot more in form. This XL would have put up a much stronger fight against many other teams in the LEC, and it's great to see PerkZ and Expect giving each other a hug, especially as former teammates.
Smiling faces on Expect. He knows how tough the team is, but at the same time, XL is a difficult road for them moving forward now. Sitting at 2-10, I believe. Making playoffs, I don't think it's quite impossible yet, statistically.
Highly improbable.
It's just highly improbable, yes.
I mean, you know, because of the fact that like Fnatic and SK Misfits only have 4 and 5 wins respectively, yes. If they drop games and they play the likes of XL and Rogue, it's a double game swing. They add a loss, they add a win. G2 even dropping by the caster desk for some customers. There are so many people giving G2 high fives. They have to come past the caster desk as well. But Vedius, I actually think I have the moment that G2 won the game in replay.
Oh, excellent.
Taking a gamble on this one, but take a look at this replay. It's where G2 managed to pick up 4 kills earlier on in the game. And if I recall correctly, this was in the top lane and the river. And we'll see this one playing out. It is
okay, this is the one that we're going to get. And yeah, this is pretty much the play that determined the game, because what should have just been a single pick from the side of G2 actually escalated into a full-blown team fight. And ultimately, XL, it just felt like the coordination was a little bit off here. They just felt like they were trying to react to what was happening in the side lane rather than trying to push something elsewhere. And they end up immediately getting punished for it. And it just kind of goes to show that G2 are a team that the moment you make a small mistake, they immediately punish you. It reminds me of the Moscow 5 days where, you know, they'll take a hand. You think they'll take a hand?
Finger and they'll take your arm.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's very much what G2 have demonstrated here today.
Take a look at that goal disparity. 2 things I also liked itemization-wise. It is very micro points, but the double dark seal for Jarvan in the top lane, really working out with the Airy as far as his keystone is concerned. Very gold efficient. You know, I think they sell for like 250-ish, buy for 350. Also the double pickaxe BF sword, from Kaisa down the bottom lane. Got a ping from Stats Team as a reminder that hits the 100 AD, which activates the additional burst damage in the queue.
I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't really looking at PerkZ because he was definitely the worst performer in this game with a score of like 1-3. I was looking at players like Mykix. I loved his roams around the map.
Give me two more.
Jankos had a great game, but honestly, like Jankos had a great game, but the shining stars were really Wunder in the top lane and Caps in the mid lane. So yeah, and I already said Mykix was the player that I was really. So
would you consider those three as like key
player of the game? If there were three that I would pick player of the game, it would probably be Wunder, Caps, and Mykix.
There we go.
I also think Jankos had too many. We don't want to go into his head as well.
I've forgotten, where do I vote again?
You can vote on Twitter, I believe. You have to go physically vote. You can't just imagine it. You have to go onto Twitter, lolesports, and then you can.
I still think that's electronic. I don't have to go to Twitter office and do it, but
that's true. You
need some work. We'll work.
That's a fair point.
We'll work on your player of the game setups, Vedius.
No
SK Gaming are fighting tooth and nail to make it to playoffs, and they will be looking to put a scare into the competition by beating Schalke 04 after the break. Let's find out if they can do it. More on that and an interview with Jankos right after the ad break.